but I'm here, okay? How are you guys doing? Man, the jugs are feeling a bit heavy today. We are discussing timelines today, and I am super excited about this. If you are coming and catching the replay, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe if you haven't already. And I want you to go ahead and hit hype the video if you have any hypes left. Hype the video. Let's see, what am I doing? I am pulling up my moderator account so that I can moderate for myself. How about that? Let's go back here. All right, so I have sound. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. This is how I make sure everything is on point because it can be a bit challenging trying to do all of this on your own. So I have come up with a creative solution. I don't know who's in the room, but welcome. Help me fire up the chat if you don't mind. Send out those fire emojis, your favorite emojis, just so we can push out the live, because I do really believe that this one, as all of the school lunch lives, are actually very helpful, can really help somebody. All right. So I am leading by example, and I am firing up the live myself. But it would be great if I had help doing so. Okay. It would be really, really wonderful. All right. So we are discussing today timelines. All right. This channel is called Guiding Timelines with Umi Jua. It was called Umi Jua's Tarot, but I came to realize I do way more here than just tarot reading. So this is our last school lunch live of the year, and there won't be any more. So I started this maybe 2 or 3 months ago, with the idea in mind of being able to share. I won't be doing any reading. This is just out of habit because my cards are on the table. Let me put them away so I can focus. But I started doing this because I do a lot of sharing of life and life lessons during my lives where I do tarot readings. And I figured this would be a great way for me to share some knowledge or some of the research that I've done, the things that I've done to assist my healing and my holistic ascension. And so I figured I would share those things and just put them out there. There is a playlist. So if you will go to playlists on my channel, you will see School Lunch. And this will be the last one added to that playlist. Again, today we are discussing timelines, guiding timelines, okay? This is where you choose alignment over autopilot. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe if you haven't already. So when you're choosing alignment over autopilot, you will come to understand that you are not behind in life. You're just becoming conscious, okay? And so this is where most of what I believe, and well, not believe, this is where most of what I know that has helped my ascension comes from. And that's the understanding of consciousness and how it creates and shapes who we are once we understand it and tap into it. Timelines is a big portion of that, okay? And so this is why we're going to be discussing it last. All right, you guys hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will be reading from my notes, you guys, because I do a lot of extensive study and I have to take notes. And I have so much knowledge up here that if I don't really focus, I'll be all over the place. And we don't want that, okay? Because this mind, when I tell you, boop, 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 it's its own little metronome. Okay, so choosing alignment over autopilot. You are not behind. You're just becoming conscious. Okay, hit that like button. Okay, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. I want you guys to take notes. Hey, to live Nikki, welcome, sweetheart. I want you guys to take notes. You can bring your lunch. This is school lunch. Bring your lunch and your notebooks. Okay, take notes. This PDF is going to be available to you. All right, if you want to get it for a donation of any amount, you can do that by clicking the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description box, and I will be happy to email you the PDF for your own references, okay? So let's start with the fact that we're going into a new year. This is going to make a lot more sense to you about what you need to do to prepare for this next calendar year. We all know a new year doesn't really start until March. But to prepare you for this next year, right? Your mindset, what it is that this is not about making resolutions. This is about resolving within yourself to be calm, okay? And whatever that looks like to you will be the main idea and themes going forward into your next year, right? Because this is typically a time where we pause and we look at where we're standing. And sometimes we're in old fudge mode, like it's the end of the year, where did it go and what did I do with myself, okay? So we're not going to be talking about timelines in a sci-fi way, right? But I'm going to be focusing on a very lived, practical human experience. Hey CD, hey Sam, how are you guys? Welcome. Okay, and I will be taking questions at the end of this live around this subject. Okay, so if you got other questions, maybe just kind of focus in and let's stay on topic at the end when I'm answering questions. Okay, so there will be a Q&A. So to understand how timelines shift, we first need to understand what a timeline actually is, do we not? And the way I approach all of my learning, I look at it from psychology, physiology, and energy, okay? And so within all of that, there is science, psychology, and philosophy. So these are the layers with which I learn, all right? So the definition of a timeline, just to look at it in plain language, it is, you got your notes? Who's taking notes? Okay. CD, fire up the comments for me so we can get this live pushed out if you don't mind, sweetheart. A definition, I'm just going to dive into the lesson. So if I'm not paying attention to your comments, please don't take it personally, because I really, really want to dig in and get this out, okay? And I want you guys to really, really see and hear me and just kind of focus in, because this is going to be one of the most important lessons out of all the ones that I've done. Go back and watch the playlist. This one is really going to take all of those and compact them down so that your understanding is triggered in ways it's never been before, if you really hone in, okay? And so what I want you to do is keep this as a reference point. And when you go back and watch the playlist of the other ones that I presented, then everything will just start to click, and you will just get to a place to where you're like, oh wow, all of that makes sense now, okay? So let's go back to the beginning. We are going to understand how to shift timelines. We're going to understand what timelines actually are. We're going to start with that part. What is a timeline? Dealing with the science, psychology, and philosophy, okay? I think I also want to get my whiteboard. So give me just a second to reach for it. And I will use it just to highlight certain terms, okay? Just to highlight certain terms so that you guys can get a deeper understanding and meaning of where I'm going, okay? And I'm just going to take my time. And I may not get anyone, not many people watching this and staying for it, but that's okay because when the information is out there, that's the most important thing. The right people at the right time will find it, they will find it valuable. And I believe this particular lesson, all of the lessons really will save lives. Okay? I really do. I know. I don't just believe that, I know that. So if you're here and you don't mind firing up the comments, sharing, hey Lucy, sharing the live, that will be amazing. As a matter of fact, let's see, we are 10 minutes in. That's okay. Let me just breathe and ground myself because for some reason I am feeling such a powerful push to really make sure that this one lands, okay? So what is a timeline? The science, psychology, and philosophy. Let's give a plain definition of what is a timeline. A timeline is a sequence of experiences. My writing is crazy. Okay. A sequence of experiences created by, yeah, a sequence of experiences. You guys you take your notes, and if you want this PDF, you can get it. All right. Created by your choices, your beliefs, your habits, your nervous system responses. All right. And repeated environment exposure. Repeated environmental exposure, okay? So, a timeline is a sequence of experiences created by your choices, your beliefs, your habits, your nervous system responses, and the environments that you repeatedly expose yourself to. This is what creates your timeline. So wherever you are in the grand scheme of life, time, space, and energy, this is how it came to be. Your choices, your beliefs, your habits, your nervous system responses, and the environments you repeatedly expose yourself to. Everything matters. Nothing is without consequence, okay? So what you're dealing with is not fate, it's not punishment, it is not momentum, which is to say, the same things that you use to create the present reality. Hey, Daphne, I'm sorry. I'm trying to talk in two different spaces and times, okay? But the same things that you use to create your present reality, you can use those same things, not the same way, but the same levels we talked about. You can use choices, beliefs, habits, nervous system responses, and environment, repeated exposure, to change the timeline, the space, the energy that you dwell in, okay? It's not fate, it's not punishment, and it's not momentum, okay? I mean, it is momentum, okay? It's not fate, it's not punishment, it's momentum, all right? So I hope you're taking your notes. Because, again, I really feel like this is a very This is a very grounded and spiritual lesson, but it's just practical and real. You can literally change your life here. Okay? This is how you gain momentum to have the life that you want. That's the definition. A sequence of experiences created by choices, beliefs, habits, nervous system responses, and the environments we repeatedly expose ourselves to, which gives us the momentum of the life that we have. Okay? Now, I told you guys I approach things from several different perspectives. Let's look at the physics perspective. And this is where we look at potential versus experienced reality. So this is what could be, and this is what experience has shown us, or what we live in, the experience of our life, okay? What we're actually engaging in, okay, versus the potential. In physics, particularly in quantum theory, okay, multiple potential outcomes exist at once. All that is just choices. Multiple potential outcomes exist at once, okay? Let's fire up those comments if you're here, all right? Fire up those comments. Let's see if we can get more people involved. Okay. What becomes your experience reality, this is the physics level, is shaped by attention, observation, and interaction. Okay? Attention, observation, and interaction. While we're not collapsing wave functions with our thoughts alone, where you place your attention consistently influences behavior, and behavior influences outcome, right? So you can really be thinking a thing. Like, think of reality as like it's a massive menu, okay? You don't eat everything on the menu. You eat what you repeatedly order, right? So whatever you're choosing repeatedly, that's what you're digesting, and that's what radiates or shows itself in your life, right? So you don't live every possibility. You don't live everything that's on the menu. You live in the one you keep choosing, okay? So if you're a person who, let's say, chooses salads daily off the menu, as opposed to a person who chooses a burger combo every day off the menu, that shows up in different ways, does it not? You have both choices, but it shows up in different ways, okay? So you don't live every possibility, you live the one you keep choosing. Okay, so let me give you, this is where attention, observation, and interaction meet in the physics realm, okay? So let me put that on the board so you guys can make note of it. Attention, observation, and interaction. All right? This is the physics of it all. Let's go to the psychological perspective. And I know a lot of us don't, we don't believe, that deeply in psychology as much as some people really think they believe in it, and some people just are like, no, that's not for me. But when you put psychology together with physics, philosophy, physiology, all the things, it has its definite place in all things. Mainly your identity. And your identity, thank you, Daphne, your identity drives your trajectory. It drives the line that you go down, okay? And so psychology shows us that our identity creates our habits, okay? Well, let's just stop right there. Okay? Our identity creates our habits, and from there, our habits create our repeated choices. Okay? And then our repeated choices create our life patterns. All right? So, this is the psychology of identity and why it matters within your timeline. Because identity drives trajectory. That's the line that you go down. That's the way that you're going. All right? This is the psychology of timelines. We've already just covered the physics, all right? So your identity leads to your habits. Your habits lead to your repeated choices, okay? And your repeated choices lead to your life patterns, okay? So you're gaining, again, momentum, all right? Research on self-concept and behavior consistency shows that people unconsciously act in ways that confirm who they believe they are. Remember, the physics told us beliefs is involved here, right? So this is where identity forms in belief, which is why I often say I don't believe nothing. I only go by what I know, and I know enough to know that I don't know shit. Okay? Which is why I'm constantly studying, but I apply what I learn, okay? So research on self-concept and behavior consistency shows that people unconsciously act in ways that confirm who they believe they are. So if you believe I'm someone who struggles, your nervous system will default to familiar stress, even when ease is available. You guys know I'm constantly talking about the nervous system. I really don't think we understand the power that a regulated nervous system holds. Once I tapped into that information, understanding that everything is energy, hey Kiki, understanding that everything is energy and the human experience, the energetic center, the nervous system. We don't pay enough attention to the physiology of not only who we are, but why we are the way we are. Okay? The nervous system is it's not just your hard drive, it's the mainframe, baby. Okay? So, if you believe I'm someone who struggles, your nervous system will default to that even when ease is available to you. Okay? Your timeline follows your identity unless you interrupt it. If you're on a timeline where you're happy with where you're going, honey, fine. However, if your identity is somebody who identifies with where you are, but you're not happy there, you have to interrupt that. That's where the psychology comes in, okay? This is a change in choices. This is a change in beliefs. This is a change in habits. See how it ties into the physics that we just covered before this? Okay? So who's picking up what I'm putting down? Fire up the comments if you're picking up what I'm putting down. And who's taking notes? If you're taking notes, just type notes in the comments, okay? All right. Now let's look at the philosophical layer of timelines, okay? This is where you are becoming over time, right? Instant identity shifts or instant timeline shifts are very rare. In the physical realm, in the experience of our eyesight, right? It's very rare that we see what we call, that's a miracle. That would be a miracle, right? An instant timeline shift that's visual is a miracle. Say someone has been in a wheelchair for 30 years and they just get up and walk. That's an instant timeline shift. Those are miracles. They are rare. Doesn't mean they're not possible, but they are rare. Timeline shifts are actually very gradual, and they begin here. This and here. Okay, we one of the lives I talked about how to live from your heart space. This is a bigger mind than this is. Okay, this one will trick you. This one right here tells the real story. Okay, but they need to be together because this one does the processing and this one does the feeling. They need to be on the same page. Okay, they need to be holding hands. Your mind and your heart need to be best friends. That's coherence. Okay, I discussed that. You guys got to go back and watch the playlist. Okay, but this is how you become what? Become who? Become who you really are, want to be. You become your desired most high self over time. So the philosophy is, let's talk Aristotle, from Aristotle to modern existentialism, right? Hey, Muchiro, you are not a fixed self. You are a becoming self. You don't have to stay where you are. And even, let me just say this, there is no such thing as stagnancy. If you feel like you're stuck or stagnant, you are not. You're either going forwards or backwards. All right? Nothing that has energy stays still. It just doesn't. It's constantly moving. So whatever you are becoming that thing deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. But you can reverse it if you're not happy with it and go the other way. That's repentance. Okay? That just came to mind. So your timeline is not who you are. It's who you've been practicing being. All right? So you're not late. You're just mid-sentence. You're just like in, you're in the flow, hopefully. But wherever you're flowing to is wherever you're flowing through, is wherever you're flowing from. Okay? It's very, very layered, but intellectually simple. But all of this takes practice and patience with yourself. Okay? It takes much practice and patience with yourself. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe if you haven't already, okay? And fire up the chat for me. So, you guys want to know how to know if you're on the right timeline? I'm going to tell you how you know that you're aligned and how you know you are not. Signs of alignment. Nervous system and energy. I already talked about it. Nervous system and energy. Aligned timelines feel like this. I love this. Oh my God. I feel this so in my soul, okay? You guys are taking your notes, right? I'm writing this down so I can give you a visual as I, hold on, I spelled that wrong. So I can give you a visual as I break it down, okay? I love this, because this is literally, I don't teach you guys stuff that I have not been living or lived or came to know through experience, okay? Signs of alignment. It feels like flow instead of force. You don't have to force anything in life. You're just flowing, right? Effort without exhaustion. You do what's necessary without having to push yourself to the brink. Okay? You just do it. You're being, you're doing, and you're having. Okay? Calm focus rather than frantic urgency. Calm focus rather than frantic urgency. And finally, a sense of rightness, even when things are challenging. A sense of rightness, even when things are challenging. That right there was the biggest one for me. That was the biggest one. Like, I recognized all of the other ones, but the biggest one for me was when a challenge or something arose and I did not react. I just observed. And sometimes I would say, let's think about this. And sometimes I would say, let's revisit that later. Or the bigger one, does this even need my attention? Is this even a challenge? Is this even a problem? Or is it just that my attention is going here, so that magnifies it? A sense of rightness, even when presented with challenge. All right? That right there could be perception as well. No, I'm not left-handed. It's just the camera turned. You're left-handed? That's awesome. My oldest, he was born left-handed, but me, I taught him some things to do with his right hand just to make it easier for him when he went to school. So now he's what the southern United States people call even-handed. He's ambidextrous, okay? All right, so a nervous system note, all right? Another way to know that you're in alignment or you're in sync, right, is you feel regulated more than you feel dysregulated, okay? Like, you're more calm, you're more balanced, you're more like in tune with self and ideas and, whatever feels good. You're more in tune with that. So you're more regulated than dysregulated. You recover from stress quicker, right? Because none of this is to say you're never going to be stressed out, you're never going to be upset. No. It's that you downshift. You know how to downshift a lot quicker, right? And settle yourself. You know how to face conflict without escalation, right? Not only without escalating it, at least keeping it at an even scale, but you can de-escalate as well. And your decisions feel clearer, right? Whatever decisions you make are not muddled by the voice in your by a voice in the back of your head saying, is this really right? Is this really real? You're very clear about the decisions you make. Synchronicities appear not as magic. They don't appear like, oh, this means, not as magic. But you're just simply noticing opportunities you were previously too overwhelmed to see. Or you're noticing that, hey, everything is cool. I'm in alignment right now. But you don't make it out of this big woo-woo thing or, this is a part of acceptance, right? This is a part of receiving the synchronicities. They're just ways of you being able to receive without being overwhelmed, to perceive without being overwhelmed, and to know that what you see is opportunity. And that's all. You're just cool. All right? So alignment feels steady, not dramatic. So one thing that I really had to tap into once I realized my nervous system is regulating, there are two things actually. Once I realized my nervous system was regulating and is regulated, right? Because you do get a point to where you're healed, okay? And that was the body catches up later, okay? And then boredom. Oh, boredom. The body catches up later and then boredom. But I put a question mark here. Is it really boredom or is it just you being calm and at peace? Okay? Because alignment, it doesn't feel dramatic. When your nervous system regulates, you realize there's no drama. You're not feeding into any drama. You're not, let's fire up the chat in the comments, okay? Let's fire up the chat. You're not buying into drama. You're not feeding drama. You're not you're not feasting on it. You're not giving it out. You're just chill, okay? And it could definitely look like boredom, but baby, it's just peace. It's just peace. Now it's time to tap into those hobbies you've always been interested in. But guess what else? There's really nothing wrong with just being still either. It's okay. It's okay to be still. Matter of fact, it's a part of your healing, okay? And then the body catches up later. Let's say you're like me, a person who was always high strung, overly sensitive, overgiving, unsure of your life path. You were reactive instead of responsive. Just drama on top of drama, even though you hate drama. I hate drama, okay? But drama was always finding me. It was just always just lurking, hanging, and knocking, and bulldozing its freaking way into the house, okay? And so you find yourself at a certain weight, at a certain mental health condition, at a certain emotional instability. And all of that can show up again as weight gain or weight loss. It can show up as skin problems. It could show up as poor heart health. It could show up as, a whole number of things in this lovely, beautiful temple that we hold. This will be the last thing to correct itself. Again, though, that's going to require better choices. I didn't say perfect choices. I said better choices, right? Your mind gets into alignment with the who you want to be, with becoming, and the body follows. So if you are having health issues, go to the doctor, see about yourself, and also understand that a lot of it is just the timeline that you've been living on has gotten too much for your body to handle. And it's going to take time for the body to understand, to hear the nervous system say, oh, we cool now. No, seriously. No, for real. You can let go of those 30 pounds. No, for real. I trust you. Trust me, I got you. You can let go of the severe acting. No, for real. I got you. I got you. Because the more your nervous system regulates, you're going to want to drink more water. You're going to want to move your body more. But you're also going to know when to rest. You're going to accept the fact that rest is a beautiful thing. Okay? This is signs of misalignment, repetition, and resistance. Misaligned timelines often show up as chronic stress and burnout. Woo. Trust me, I know about that one. That's why I took my last 2 months of school off, and I went in. Only somebody I really deal with now is my lover for the most part, unless I have to take care of some business. I was doing a little dating, here and there, because masculine energy kind of helps me settle down when they're not non-toxic, okay, and emotionally regulated. I will, but being with my lover, he is non-toxic and emotionally regulated. So spending time with him has actually helped me through a time of burnout, okay? But this is how you know you're not on the right timeline. Chronic stress and burnout. Repeating the same relational or career patterns. Sometimes it's not that you can't hold a job because, you're just bad at working. Maybe you can't hold a job because your nervous system is unregulated and you are not in alignment with who you are supposed to be. This is why know thyself matters, okay? You keep entering into the same relational patterns, trauma bonds, the empath narcissist loop, the black sheep scapegoat. You can be both the black sheep and the scapegoat sometimes, okay? But you keep putting yourself in situations where you embody that narrative, okay? If you're feeling stuck, numb, or resentful, feeling stuck, remember, nothing's stuck. Everything's moving. It's either going forward or backwards, but you're feeling stuck, or you're numb. You're apathetic, like nothing really matters. It is what it is. Life is life, or resentful. And here's a big one. Doing what you should do while abandoning what you need. Doing what you should while abandoning what you need. And I put should in quotations because most things that are embodied with should come with expectations outside of what is actual, factual, and needed. Okay? So, the brain prefers the familiar over the healthy. That's what the brain prefers the familiar over the healthy. This is why you have to live from your heart space. So misalignment can feel normal, right? Until you pause long enough to notice the cost of that. This is why I promote stillness to the utmost degree. That can come in the form of meditation. That can come in the form of just sitting outside, grounding. That can come in the form of just sitting in your house with nothing on, no TV, no radio, no binaural beats, no nothing. Just you. Just sitting. Just being. Okay, hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. So, if your life requires you to abandon yourself, then you are out of alignment. You are off your true timeline. Okay? All right. So, let's look at how timelines shift, a bridge between intention and action. Because this is where a lot of us really get hemmed up. We have the intention of doing a thing, procrastination, okay? And action, intention and action are misaligned, okay? So let's look at the psychological aspect of that, how timelines shift. Let's look at the neuroplasty, the brain, how it's malleable and adaptive to conditions and circumstances. which means your brain can change. Just because it gets used to chaos does not mean that it can't unlearn that, okay? So new thoughts create new neural pathways. New behaviors reinforce those pathways, and repetition create an identity shift, a change in timeline. Okay? Let me repeat that. Y'all taking notes? Fire up the comments for me. Okay. I'm taking my time, y'all, because I really want this to sink in. Your brain is changeable this way. New thoughts create new neural pathways, meaning your brain is changing. You're creating new timelines in your brain, okay? Pathways. New behaviors reinforce those pathways. That means you go from let's say you have a machete of some kind. Your thoughts are the machete, okay? And there's this big area of brush you've got to go through to get to the timeline you want to be on. And as you go, you go through one time, your machete, it chops down enough for you to get through there, but it's a struggle, okay? But on your way back, you chop it some more. And then on the way back through again, you chop it some more. All right? You're reinforcing that pathway. You're making it smoother. You're making it easier to travel down with every pass through. That's when you become the person who can walk that timeline very easily. That's the identity shift. You don't need machetes anymore to create your existence, to create the path you want to be on. You just got to think it, and you go through easily. Okay? This is why small changes matter more than drastic ones. Small changes matter more than drastic ones. I don't know how many of you follow Neuro Knowledge. You guys know I've been sharing his channel with you all since I started this channel. But he just did a new video where he talks about combating your old frequency, or something about the old frequency. He's done 2 on old frequency, but this would be the newest one, right? Thank you, Daphne. But one of the things that really sticks out in that lesson, if you guys go watch it, is that while I'm talking about small changes mattering more than dramatic ones, right? And I'm talking about new thoughts, creating new neural pathways. When he was going through his lesson, I thought that goes with my lesson on timelines, because I prepared this lesson 3 weeks ago, y'all. Okay, so I was like, this goes with that lesson, because you can really want to change a habit, right? And you will get up and you will start doing the things. Like, let's say you want to lose 10 pounds and they tell you weight training is the biggest way to do that for your age group, blah, blah, blah. And you just jump up and you go to the gym and you start losing weight. Or you start trying to lose weight. And you're lifting all these weights and nothing's changing and blah. Or it does change, but you go back to where you were and you put on more weight, whatever. You're not really seeing real change. Not sustainable, not lasting, okay? That's because you didn't change this first. You didn't change this first. You didn't regulate your nervous system enough to be able to sustain weight loss much less achieve it. Okay? You didn't change your thoughts well enough to be able to identify with someone who is healthy or has a certain body type. You have to identify with that person. That starts in here and here, these being coherent. That's where the I am comes in. Okay? So you start with the neuroprogramming first. Start watching fitness videos. Start watching cooking videos. Start studying weight loss. Start studying how to reach your goals in weight. Get your mind into that area first before you start taking the action, or while you're taking the action, even better. Okay? Because if you're doing it while you're taking the action, that means you're reinforcing it with action. Okay? But you don't want to try to change this without changing this. All right? So, this is why small changes matter more than dramatic ones, because a dramatic change is less likely to stick unless it, unfortunately, is something like trauma. Something very hard had to happen to you. And that changes you in ways that are very hard to get out of, which is why regulating your nervous system helps with those hard things over time, to where they don't attach to you in a traumatic way. Y'all hear? Open your ears. Y'all hear? Who doing this? Okay? So this is where choosing rest over explaining. Thank you, Kiki. Choosing honesty over people pleasing, and choosing consistency over intensity. So you can go lifting 30 pound weights if you're a woman and think, oh yeah. Or you can lift 3 pound weights on a daily basis and sustain what you're trying to do. Who picking up what I'm putting down? All right. So let's talk about physics and attention. Where attention goes, we hear this all the time. Where attention goes, something flows, or something like that. Where attention goes, whoo, I know this taking longer than my usual. Okay, but I'm telling y'all, this is where your breakthrough is, especially when you combine it with the other lessons. This is why I created a playlist for this. Okay. I'm feeling so good about this, y'all. I really, for some reason, feel like this is going to save somebody. And I don't know why I feel like, I don't know why I feel like that. And I don't know who it is. But I feel like this is going to save somebody. I know it saved me. Okay? So, this is physics. Where attention goes, behavior follows, energy consolidates, and momentum builds. Where attention goes, behavior follows, energy consolidates, and momentum builds. So it's not mystical. It's mechanics. That's what I just got through explaining with the gym example, okay? Attention is the steering wheel. Action is the gas. And your timeline is the car. This is becoming. You got to know what you want to be, though. And you got to know who you are. This is how you understand who you are. right? So you'll know how to get to where you want to be. And when I say who you are, I'm not talking about this, whatever your life looks like. That's not you. If it doesn't make you happy, if you're not truly deep down okay with it, it's not you. It's a system that was built up from the stuff that we taught. Let me go back to the beginning. It's a system that you're living in that was built up of choices, beliefs, habits, nervous system responses, and the environments you repeatedly choose. That's all you're living in. That's what your timeline looks like. Okay? So your attention is the steering wheel, action is the gas. Let's look at it again from a metaphysical lens. Intention and coherence. Intention here is here twice now. Your intention matters as much as your attention. Okay? So we looked at intention and action. Now let's look at intention and coherence. This is from an energetic perspective. Alignment happens. I love this. Woo, I'm so happy right now. Y'all taking notes? When your thoughts, emotions, and actions point in the same direction, that's coherence. That's you know how people be like, oh, I'm all discombobulated. Yeah, they telling the truth. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions point in the same direction, you're on the same line. That's your trajectory. This is where you want to go. Okay? Timeline. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions line up, you're in alignment. Okay? And so that the opposite of that would be incoherence creates fiction. And what does incoherence look like? It looks like wanting peace while choosing chaos. Wanting peace while choosing chaos. I don't know if I've ever shared with you all that I am a certified master life coach. And I used to do life coaching many years ago. And one of the charts that I used to help my clients see where they were and what they wanted was this. Okay. Okay. Over here you have chaos. Over here you have bliss. And in the center is peace. Okay? This is how I would help my clients gauge not only where they were with what they wanted, right? But use this, I still use this chart daily for myself. When I am at peace, when I'm out of alignment and there's a lot of drama and chaos, well, before when I was, okay, let me just say that, before when I was out of alignment and there was a bunch of drama and chaos, I would forget this. But now, this chart and the map of consciousness, I refer to them on a regular basis, just unconsciously. Just out of, okay, is this where I want to be right now? Is what, okay, oh, okay, I'm good. Just daily check-ins, hourly check-ins, like just whenever it pops up, how am I feeling? If you can stay somewhere in this realm of peace, This chart is also colored, by the way, okay? So you go from red all the way to down to green here with yellow and oranges and yellows and blues and then greens, right? And then reds, oranges, yellows, blues, and greens. Okay? The further you get outside of that green and blue, then that's a problem. You say, well, why not go further over here in the bliss? Have y'all ever heard ignorance is bliss? Truth.com. You get too far over here, you start forgetting responsibilities. You stop caring about people. You start caring about your life. You stop caring about yourself. You're just out here in la la land. Okay? This is where you know your mind has really cracked. This is where a lot of people get caught up in. They'll just up and leave their homes and go be homeless. And I'm not saying this is everybody's issue. I'm saying there are people who have dealt with so much of this and not found themselves a center marker of peace in the slightest way, that they go from red to red overnight. They crack. And they go into either chosen homelessness, they go into addiction, they go into violence, right? This is the hard-working person right here, who show up to work regardless of how they're feeling. They put in the hours. They take the ridicule from their boss, okay, no matter how hard they work. They, don't have a happy home life because the people at their house, all they want is for them to work to maintain the lifestyle. They never get any praise. They can never be vulnerable, any of that. They end up over here not giving a shit about nothing and going and doing very dangerous and devious things to people, disgruntled. This is what you think is chaos. Remember, I told y'all, energy, it constantly loops. Sometimes it moves so fast, you don't know light from cold. I mean, hot from cold, light to dark, okay? You think it's chaos. These people have resigned themselves to not give a nothing. They are in complete bliss at that moment. So a lot of times what y'all thinking is a disgruntled employee, they was disgruntled before they went there. Now they're like, let me solve this problem. And they solve it in the worst way. This is why you've got to maintain your center. Okay? You don't shift timelines by wishing. You shift timelines by becoming coherent. Okay? When you want peace, but you choose chaos, you'll either be forced into bliss, right? Or you'll stay over here and just loop here, or if you get over here, it's gonna look like chaos anyway. Because this loops, it's continuous. All right? It's like rowing with one hand. You're sitting in a boat and you got your oar and you're rowing with one hand. What is that boat gonna do? It's gonna go around in circles, okay? So, we are at 1 hour. Let's see. If you're taking notes, let me give you a journaling prompt real quick. Something you can ask yourself. You can write this down. I won't write it down. I'll let you do it. You can ask yourself, where am I resisting flow? And who would I be if I stopped resisting flow? Right? This is a way to kind of get in touch with who you really are. Where am I resisting flow? That means peace, that means ease. Doesn't mean non-action. Okay, there is a time for non-action and there is a time of action, but you have to get to the point where you understand that they can be the same thing, right? That means, oh, I need to get up and make me something to eat, but you're not frantic. You say, I'm hungry, let me go make something to eat. You peacefully get up, you walk into the kitchen, you decide what you want, and you go about calmly putting it all together. And you sit down and you can calmly eat it without distraction. You can be in the moment, you can enjoy it. That's action and non-action taking place because you're in the moment. Okay? Energy audit. Your energy is important. You're going to ask these 3 questions. Okay? Who, what? Who, what? What do you mean? Who, what? Who expands me? Who drains me? No, who expands me? What drains me? And what do I keep tolerating that my body has already rejected? Remember, I told y'all the body matters. Who expands me? What drains me? And what do I keep tolerating that my body has already rejected? I'll leave that with you. So here are some conscious choice exercises. We are toward the end, okay? Choose one action this week that belongs to your ideal timeline out of these 3. 1 boundary, 1 honest conversation, 1 nourishing habit. Choose one of those 3 this week that fits your ideal timeline and try to implement that. 1 boundary, 1 honest conversation, or 1 nourishing habit. All right? Big shifts are built from small, faithful steps. This is your daily check-in. At night, ask yourself, where did I feel aligned today? And where did I override myself? You're not going to judge yourself. You're just going to be aware. And awareness is where you can make correction. So, you don't jump timelines by force. You walk into them with consistency. All right? This is how peace is built. This is how peace is built. I don't know what I'm doing here. Hold on. I was spelling that all wrong. Okay. So, I hope this next year will bring you to your most aligned, regulated, and self-honoring timeline of your life so far. Okay. All right. So that is the end of the lesson. Let me remind you again, a PDF copy of this is available to you. If you want it, you can leave me buy me a coffee donation at the link in the description box of any amount. And with that email address, I will send you a PDF copy. Let me also remind you that I will be here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Central Time for our regular tarot reading nights. Okay? And let me let you know that our membership for Tarot and Art, our Self-Love Circle, begins January 4th on a Sunday night at 6 p.m. You will need to become a member in order to join us on the Zoom. Hello, Corey. To join us on the Zoom meetings on 6 p.m. Central on Sunday nights. Um, the post tab has all the information, or at least the link to join the membership. I think I'll remember to put that information in the description box and the comments as well. Okay, so do we have any questions on today's topic? I will leave about a minute because we don't have that many people in the room. But if you have any questions on today's topic, let's go ahead and take those, okay? I think I made good time because that was a meaty and hearty lesson. All right. Just going to give it about 30 more seconds for any questions to populate, if they will. This is our last school lunch of the year. So again, go back and watch the playlist. This will be added to it. It'll start with misinterpreting the matrix. That is the very first one. There should be maybe 7. I think this may be the 8th one. I'm not sure. But it's definitely worth it to watch the entire series. Okay. All right. So I am Jua, and you have been fed. Bye-bye.